This episode is brought to you by Heyday. Feeling stressed? Take a moment for yourself with Heyday. Stroll through rows of golden wheat, tend to cute barnyard animals, and discover the joys of a digital farm retreat. You don't have to hop in a car or catch a plane. Escape to the farm at the tap of a finger. With Heyday, you're not just tending to a farm, you're tending to yourself. Heyday. Search Heyday, that's Hay space DAY, in your favorite app store. Heyday is a free-to-play mobile game and offers optional in-app purchases and random rewards.
Close your eyes, exhale, feel your body relax, and let go of whatever you're carrying today.
Well, I'm letting go of the worry that I wouldn't get my new contacts in time for this class. I got them delivered free from 1-800-CONTACTS. Oh my gosh, they're so fast.
And breathe.
Oh, sorry. I almost couldn't breathe when I saw the discount they gave me on my first order. Oh, sorry. Namaste.
Visit 1-800-CONTACTS.com today to save on your first order.
1-800-CONTACTS.
Welcome to Dear Prudence. I'm your Prudence, Jenée Desmond Harris. Today we'll be helping a listener who wants to hang a nude photo of herself over her bed without appearing conceited. Another who has ditched by all her friends after a breakup. Someone who is labeled a horrific bigot by their whole soccer team based on their musical taste. And finally, a person concerned about their friends becoming Doomsday preppers. Here to help me out is Seema Yasmin. She is an Emmy Award-winning journalist, poet, medical doctor, author, and professor. Yes, all of those things. Yasmin is a clinical assistant professor of medicine at Stanford and faculty affiliate at the Institute for Human-Centered Artificial Intelligence. She is the author of 8 nonfiction, fiction, poetry, and children's books, including the recent young adult book, Unbecoming, and children's history book, The ABCs of Queer History. During the COVID-19 pandemic, her medical journalism helped debunk the spread of misinformation. Her podcast, Our Big Shot, is about the history and future of vaccines. Welcome to the show, Seema. Did I get everything you do in your life there?
It sounds freaking obnoxious. Hi, Jenée. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to do this.
Thank you so much for coming on. And my first question for you, as you know, is about one piece of unsolicited advice that you have for our listeners.
Eat a ton of fiber every day. Look up what the guidelines are for you. It's like 25 grams for women age 50 or younger, 38 grams for men age 50 or younger. Like, look up what the guidelines are, but make sure you are getting your soluble and your insoluble fiber. And I'm saying this because of heart health and a tragedy that occurred in my life recently where my best friend died of a heart attack very young, but also because I'm sure everyone's seen that it's pretty scary how young people are getting sick with colon cancer and bowel cancers. So I wish I was saying something that was like had more levity, but really where my brain and my heart is at right now is I don't want anyone else having a heart attack. So please eat your fiber daily.
What's the easiest way to get it?
Eating kidney beans out of the can, which is what I have resorted to. I know that sounds ridiculous, but just figure it out. Like, do whatever works for you. Soluble fiber you can get in oats, peas, beans, apples, citrus fruits. Like, there's so many sources. And then for insoluble fiber, you can get it in wheat bran, nuts, beans, vegetables. Like, just figure out what works for you, not what someone tells you should eat, because then you'll be able to stick to it.
Okay, because I feel like everyone does all the counting when it comes to protein. But should you be doing that too? Or is fine? Yes. If you had to choose one thing to count all day.
I would have to pick 2 because I do the protein counting. I think, like you said, so many of us let the fiber slip because it's just out of mind. But if you are not counting it, then you are probably not getting enough. And I did a mini audit and I was getting like an abysmal amount of fiber in my daily diet. So know how much you're getting in each portion and just knock it out the park, please.
Noted. Okay, after the break, the 2 of us will work on giving some advice.
This episode is brought to you by Discover. If you've listened to Dear Prudence for a while, you know how important acceptance is when it comes to your personal growth. And you know who else is big on acceptance? Discover. You see, Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. That's a whole lot of places and a whole lot of acceptance, which is great for Discover, but even better for you. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard.
Welcome back. You're listening to Dear Prudence, and I'm here with Seema Yasmin. Let's go ahead and get started with our first letter. It's titled Showgirl Send-Off.
What's your opinion on decorating with photos of yourself? I'm a former burlesque performer that lives alone in a small apartment. In my years of performing, I amassed a collection of professional photos, show posters, and paintings that I've framed and hung up, including a tasteful and artsy nude of myself above my bed. I worry that visitors might think I'm conceited, but it makes me sad to think about all this evidence of my cool former life sitting in the back of a closet. How much is too much?
So, Seema, I had an interesting conversation recently with our mutual friend, Tanya, and she made the most fascinating point to me. Do you remember when we were younger, a really big insult that would be thrown around among kids on the schoolyard was conceited? Like,
Yes.
You're conceited. You don't hear that anymore, right? You just don't. It's not something people say about each other. And Tanya's theory, which I agree with, is that it's because everyone is conceited now, thanks to social media. Like, we're all posting pictures of ourselves, selfies, editing the pictures, just thinking about our image a lot. So I don't even know if conceited is a problem in this day and age.
Yes, and this is slightly different in that it's going to be nudes and it's going to be super sexy. So people might think that crosses a different line versus just the endless selfies that we're used to. And hi, Tanya, we love her. So I love hearing her perspective. But my perspective is that if I was a burlesque dancer, listen, everyone would know, including the DoorDash delivery person who's barely stepping foot in the house. Like, the pictures would be by the front door, because I think if you've got it like that, you should flaunt it. And having seen burlesque live, it's such an art form. It's so impressive, their flexibility, their grace, the choreography. And I'm sure the images would look stunning, the lighting, all of it. So I say plaster that stuff everywhere.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it at all, especially with the burlesque twist to it. I mean, even if you wanted to just go to glamour shots and take a nude photo, that would be fine too. But this is not just, I look good. This was an important part of my life. This is an accomplishment. This is something I'm proud of, which to me makes it more than just superficial.
Yeah, it's really a skill, isn't it? But then do you think that it's a different story when it comes to the nude above the bed?
Well, I was thinking a little. I think anyone who this woman like invites to her bed in a "you're going to see me nude" type of way would probably be delighted to see the photo. I'm kind of worried about other people. Like, do you have just platonic friends who come sleep over, or are there a lot of people in and out of your room?
That would
I don't know. A handyman.
Yeah.
Do you care if those people see that? Just something to think about.
I mean, again, if you're doing burlesque, then you have it like that. I think you got to flaunt it. But I did date someone once who had above their bed a very large, kind of artsy, but it was a little bit corny. And it wasn't fully nude image, but a semi-nude of themselves.
Wow.
And I really liked them. So I thought it was endearing and cute. But I feel like if I was her friend, I would have advised against it because it just was a little dated. I feel like the style of it.
This is really interesting. It's really interesting because I'm telling this person, do whatever you want, you're fine. But then the other part of my mind is also saying, oh, of course you would judge someone if you went to their house and you were dating them and they had this. But like you said, you liked the person. And so this wasn't a deal breaker.
It wasn't a deal breaker. And so there is that difference, right? Like when it's your friend, you might have a slightly different bar versus if it's someone you're really into, you're like, that's kind of corny, but it's cute because you're cute.
Right, exactly. So yes, letter writer, I think that anyone who thinks you're cute physically or personality-wise will think this is cute and you should do it. Like Seema said, I just think so many of us have so many different insecurities and hang-ups about how we look. And if you feel really good about how you look at a moment in time, and you're not, you're not sitting there online being jealous of people who look better or trying to fix yourself or trying to hide something, like celebrate that. That's something that doesn't happen to everyone all the time, and you should definitely celebrate it.
And you know who we should listen to when it comes to this? It's older women, because I've heard so many older women talk about the angst they had about their bodies when they were younger. And now in their 60s, 70s, 80s, looking back to those pictures and being like, I looked amazing. I wish I had just like not expended that energy on pointing out the flaws. And they just have a different appreciation. And maybe we should try and borrow that attitude earlier on in life.
Definitely, and not waste any time. And letter writer, I would say if someone does come over and express some judgment, I would just be like, how is this worse than the picture you posted on Instagram that was taken from behind when you're looking over your shoulder that someone clearly had to take for you that wasn't natural? How is this any more self-absorbed than that?
Exactly.
Okay. So our next question is titled Broken, Bitter, and Blindsided.
I'm a gay woman in my mid-30s. Like many of us, I didn't have my first real relationship until a bit later in life, around 30. I didn't date in high school or college because I came into my sexuality a little later and didn't come out until my mid-20s. At 29, I met my first girlfriend. Our relationship ended up being the catalyst for her to come out to her friends and family. Over the 4 years we were together, we became deeply involved in each other's lives, sharing close friendships, spending holidays together, and building a beautiful community. It was a loving, supportive relationship. We didn't fight and there was no betrayal, but after 4 years, I realized I needed space to reconnect with myself. As painful as it was, I ended things, not because I stopped loving her, but because I didn't feel I could show up for her the way she deserved at that point in my life. Naturally, she was heartbroken, and even though I initiated the breakup, I was just as devastated. I cried for days, and the emotional toll was heavy. After we split, several of her friends cut ties with me completely, and her family unfriended me on social media. Those who didn't block me just faded out. I understood. It made sense that they would stand by her. What's been harder to process is how some of my closest friends became even closer to her after we broke up. At first, I assumed it was just transitional or temporary, but it wasn't. I found out they were inviting her to weekend trips, weddings, birthday dinners, even family events, things I used to be part of. Sometimes I'd be invited too, and showing up to find her there reopened wounds I was trying hard to heal. Eventually, I carefully and kindly told my friends that having her around at those events was difficult for me, that it made me feel exposed and emotionally unsafe, but nothing changed. In fact, they seem to have embraced both her and her new partner now. I've really tried to be mature and compassionate about it, but part of me can't shake the feeling that a boundary has been crossed. Most recently, I went to a party where both she and her new partner were guests. I'm currently single, and their presence stung. I know it wasn't their party, but I couldn't help feeling like I didn't belong. Like somehow they'd stepped into a space that used to feel like mine. I left early, feeling embarrassed and out of place. Am I wrong to feel betrayed? Her people let me go immediately, but mine grew even closer to her after the breakup. It feels like I lost more than a relationship. I lost a chunk of my support system. I'm starting to wonder if I need to rethink these friendships, because right now, it just feels like my pain isn't even on their radar. Am I being unreasonable?
So, no, you're not being unreasonable for feeling really sad, obviously. You lost a huge chunk of your support system. You're also not being unreasonable for thinking you might need to reevaluate the friendships, but maybe, letter writer, for a slightly different reason than the one you have in mind. I feel as though this letter requires some detective work and some reading between the lines, because it seems really unlikely to me that everyone would choose the same person in a breakup in which both people were well liked and not seen as doing anything wrong. To put it bluntly, letter writer, come on, what did you do? Is there something we're not hearing here? Why did everyone choose her over you? I mean, Seema, did you have any similar reaction to that?
I do want to add one piece of context, which is that in lesbian years, 4 years of a relationship is actually 26 years.
Good to know.
That's not me. That's just the way lesbian math works.
Okay.
So that is a really long time. And I say that because, of course, you feel betrayed and of course you feel hurt. And this sounds like hurt on top of hurt because it's multiple grievings and multiple traumas. But yes, I also had the same instinct in that we've all gained or lost friends in a divorce. And even if it wasn't like a really, like a straight line, it was like, oh, this person drifts over to this side a little bit. You become a bit closer to that person. But this sounds, like you said, Jenée, so like one-sided that it sparked a lot of questions that we don't have answers for.
Yeah, the line that I sort of focused on was after 4 years, the letter writer could not, quote, show up for her in the way she deserved. And I would just want to know, what did that look like to not show up for her in the way she deserved? What were you doing? How egregious was it? How painful was it? And just bluntly, did you treat this person poorly? And does everyone know that? That's what my gut feeling is telling me.
Yeah, and not to take away from any of the hurt feelings and the heartbreak, because 26 years is a very long time. But yeah, what exactly was happening that drew that line of we can no longer be together?
Right, exactly. To come out of nowhere and say everything was fine, but I couldn't show up, just seems like sugarcoating something.
Yeah, we're missing some information.
Yeah. So, letter writer, I do think you should rethink the friendships, like I said, but not so much in a I'm mad at all of you, you did me wrong type of way. I think you should approach it with a little bit of curiosity. There's got to be one person who you work closer to or actually trust, who you can have a real conversation with about this if you feel like you're ready to receive the information. But if I were you, I would be curious about, why has everyone gravitated toward her instead of me? Is it something I did? Can you help me understand this a little bit? And just be ready to kind of hear whatever information comes in.
I think that's a really solid idea. I think it's easier said than done.
Yes, it is.
It means approaching this with curiosity when there's still so much pain there. But I think those kinds of conversations are essential, especially if you want to continue a life where you have deep, abiding friendships. We need that feedback in order to do that.
Definitely. You're listening to the Dear Prudence Show. When we come back, we'll be reading more of your letters. Stay with us.
Learning a new language opens the door to new friends, new cultures, and maybe even a new life. So why not start the journey today? Start speaking a new language with confidence thanks to Babbel's conversation-based technique that quickly teaches you everyday useful words and phrases. Babbel provides engaging and interactive dialogue so you can practice conversation skills right away, and you can even use fun stuff like Babbel games for sentence building and culture bites that deliver you content so you can get some insider knowledge about the language you're learning. You can choose from over a dozen languages to learn, from German, Spanish, Italian, French, to Turkish, Polish, Indonesian, Dutch, the list goes on. Babbel is teaming up with Dear Prudence and offering 55% off subscriptions at babbel.com/Prudie. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/Prudie, spelled babbel.com/PRUDIE. That's babbel.com/Prudie. Rules and restrictions may apply.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today? Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices, and that's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies, so you can save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states and situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Welcome back to Dear Prudence. I'm here with my guest Seema to answer your letters, and the next one is titled Actions Speak Louder Than Songs.
For the last year, a good friend of mine has played adult soccer in a casual local meetup group. The group describes itself as being proudly a progressive soccer team, emphasizing that everyone's welcome regardless of ability, gender, experience, etc., which I thought was cool. My friend had been inviting me to join them ever since he started, but I was unable to until recently because of my fluctuating work schedule. I was happy to join for my first practice, and everyone was friendly and welcoming. The group has a Bluetooth speaker to play music while everyone warms up, and since it was my first time joining, they invited me to play some music I like to listen to. I work out regularly and have a few favorite workout playlists on my phone, so I selected one, didn't think much about it. The second song to come on was by someone who used to be extremely popular, a hip-hop artist, but who's now a very controversial figure on social media. I still listen to his music and know a lot of people that do, but I noticed some of the group stopping and talking to each other before pausing the song. And one of them told me they were going to swap out my music with someone else's, which I thought was a little odd given that we hadn't even listened to 2 songs, but I didn't think much of it. Later that night, to my complete surprise, my friend texted me and told me that some of the people in the group messaged him that I made them uncomfortable by choosing this music, and they didn't want to cultivate a hateful atmosphere on the team. I was shocked that no one had said anything to me when I was there in person. My friend sent me a screenshot of the message he'd received saying that I wasn't welcome back in the future. Part of me felt bad for making them feel uncomfortable, but another part of me thinks that this is a ridiculous way to ban someone from a team when I would have been more than happy to apologize and not play that music. I told my friend that I was also a little bit upset with him for not standing up for me in any way. Clearly, this group thinks I'm a horrible bigot and wants nothing to do with me. I asked my friend if I could contact someone directly to apologize to them, but he said no one wanted to speak with me. I asked my friend if he agreed with them, and he sort of hedged the question. He said he didn't think I was a hateful person, but that he had also been doing a lot of reflection over the past few years in this current political climate, and does think I need to reflect on my own media choices. This was a few weeks ago, and since then, we've been in touch, but things feel kind of distant. I'm trying to reflect, but I'm also struggling to understand why this was handled so passive-aggressively. I still genuinely enjoy this artist's body of work, and I feel like it's ridiculous not to, quote, let myself listen to it or feel like I need to keep it a secret. But it's also not something I want to lose friendships over. Prudy, who's in the wrong here? Is the kind of music I listen to really that important? I consider myself to be a progressive person, but I feel like this kind of policing of other people's tastes is a hateful environment in its own way. Thoughts?
It's funny to me that the letter writer felt they had to anonymize Kanye West's identity.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. That was going to be my first thing. Like, forget the advice for now. Like, who is it? It has to be Kanye.
It
right?
has to be, right? It's got to be. It's definitely got to be. Let's just say it is. And we know what controversial artist always means, right? Controversial is what people say when they don't want to name the actual things that the person is, like racist, sexist, whatever, because it sounds softer. So I think that it kind of adds up. This is not someone who's controversial because of their fashion choices or their musical stylings. This is about things they've said that are hateful and unfair to other people, right?
I think that's 100% true. I'm so glad we cleared up who the anonymous artist is. It's also making me think, like, have I listened to his recent music? Because we know the things that he's been saying generally, but has that filtered into the music? Are the lyrics egregious? Are the lyrics anti-Semitic? Because then we can perhaps, maybe, I don't know, get into the artist separating that from the art conversation. But I just wonder if in that context, they're playing football, were they suddenly like bombarded with really loud, hateful lyrics? Or was it more, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're even playing that person's music?
I have a feeling it's, I can't believe you're playing that person.
Okay.
I was imagining it being just the person and everyone's like, okay, you know how we feel about him now. And this was a big conversation a few years ago, right? When there were sort of fewer really urgent, catastrophic headlines every day. People like to spend a lot of time talking about whether you can separate the art from the artist and whether it's okay to cancel people. It was sort of a big debate that I feel was ongoing for a few years there. And actually, I think I have evidence of you weighing in on it. You said, this was 2017, about Woody Allen.
Dig up old tweets.
A phenomenal production assistant did. Yeah.
So dangerous. What did I say?
You said about Woody Allen's upcoming film, stop watching his films. While you're at it, stop buying R. Kelly's music. So yeah, these conversations were all about R. Kelly, Michael Jackson. I'm trying to remember who else. Woody Allen is like ongoing, right?
It just made me nostalgic for the good days of Twitter.
Right. This feels like a letter from 5 to 10 years ago, doesn't it?
It does. It feels like an issue of those times. And like you said, we'd be talking about Buju Banton or Capleton, and like we grew up with that music. You instantly dance to it as soon as the beat drops, and then you catch yourself because you're like, ugh, what does this say about me? How can I like this music? And am I a person that can separate the art from the artist? And it comes up still though with MJ, Diddy now? And of course,
Oh,
should
yeah,
we play I Believe I Can Fly at kindergarten graduations?
Right, exactly.
Which apparently he sang it to someone from prison over the phone.
Oh no, I missed that story.
Recently.
Oh no. I actually also forgot that he was in prison. I don't know where I thought he was.
I wonder why you're not keeping up with the latest R. Kelly news.
I know, right?
Why would that be?
I think reasonable people I think there's room for reasonable people to disagree on this. And I think the normal way for it to play out, the sort of civilized way for it to play out on the soccer field would have been for the people on the super progressive, super sensitive soccer team to say, hey, do you mind if we actually don't listen to that? With all the bigotry and stuff lately, a lot of us would just really rather not support him. We've made that choice. Do you mind if we turn it off? Right? I think that would have been reasonable more than like, we all hate you and you're not invited back.
These people sound terrible. That friend doesn't sound like a very good friend. I would say like find a different group of people to play football with, because these people don't sound like a good time.
I mean, I want to defend them. I think their heart is in the right place. Like, I think
the way they're going about it is so
they're taking it a little too far.
It's extreme. Not even a conversation about it, and then to be like, oh, they don't even want to talk to you. No, you can't even apologize. Like, that's so over the top.
Right. It's way, way, way over the top. Also, though, the letter writer I bristle at the whole isn't criticizing other people's taste, creating a hateful environment. It's in and of itself thing, because that just reminds me of sort of the kind of thing someone would say along the lines of, it's being called out for racism is just as bad as being the victim of racism. You know, I don't like it when when the person who did the thing acts like being called out for doing the thing is so dramatically hurtful to them. But I agree that like this wasn't handled well, and it didn't have to escalate to this level.
Yeah, and it just makes them, of course, we're hearing that one perspective, but it does make that group of people sound insufferable. Like, why would you want to play football with them?
Right. And at a minimum, you're totally incompatible with them, right?
Yes.
If you're the kind of person who goes, you know what, I like his music, it doesn't matter, I won't let you police me. The super progressive soccer league is not probably the league you want to be in. You want to be in the free thinkers, or maybe just even the regular people who don't have anything in common. But this isn't, I guess I don't know why you thought this particular group was a great fit for you.
Yeah, and I just don't like being in the company of people who won't give me the grace to explain something or allow me to apologize. I think that's so necessary in friendship and socializing. Like, you have to allow someone to mess up in some respects a few times and allow that apology, and they're just like cutting them off. I don't like that approach.
Right. And back in the era when like these conversations were being had, people would always say you have to call people in, not call them out. So I do think if the members of the soccer team were hoping to get more people on the anti-Kanye West bandwagon, they probably didn't handle it as well as they could have.
Yeah, I would move on, find a different team.
Yeah, definitely move on. Don't try to go back there, because you're not going to like them anyway. I do think things can be repaired with the friend who delivered the message.
But would you want to?
Let's see. What did the friend say? The friend, they said, kind of waffled, right? And
they didn't advocate for their buddy. They just passed on the message that they don't even want to hear from you, as opposed to, hey, let me at least like be an advocate for your friend.
Or maybe the friend could have gone back to the soccer team and said, but then again, I was going to say the friend could go back to the soccer team and say, hey, he feels bad about what happened, and he's willing to respect, not listening to Kanye West at practice. But I don't actually think the letter writer thinks that. I think the letter writer thinks this is ridiculous and I don't want to be policed. And so that just makes me think, don't even try to repair. Move on.
Yeah, move on.
Neighborhood-based soccer league or whatever. There's plenty of people playing soccer in this world, or football, as Seema might say.
Oh, yeah. I did. I translated it into British.
You did. This is Dear Prudence. We need to take a break, but when we come back, more letters from you and advice from us. Stay tuned.
This episode is brought to you by eBay. We all have that piece.
The one that's so you've basically become known for it. And if you don't yet, fashionistas, you'll find it on eBay. That Miu Miu red leather bomber, the Custo Barcelona cowboy top, or that Patagonia fleece in the 2017 colorway. All these finds are all on eBay, along with millions of more main character pieces backed by authenticity guarantee. eBay is the place for pre-loved and vintage fashion. eBay, things people love.
Some things work better together, like NARS's Soft Matte Complete Concealer and Radiant Creamy Concealer. Soft Matte Complete Concealer erases and blurs imperfections with full coverage. Then, Radiant Creamy Concealer evens and brightens with a luxurious texture and radiant finish. 2 concealers, 1 flawless look. Perfect for a no foundation base. NARS, better together. Visit Ulta to shop now.
I'm Jenée, and you're listening to Dear Prudence. Seema and I are about to tackle our last question for the day. Seema, are you ready?
I'm ready.
The letter is titled Worried Friend.
I'm worried about my friends and have no idea what to do. I've been friends with Angus and Gina for more than 15 years. They used to be the center of a big friend group. They threw great parties, hosted game nights, and were so much fun to be around. But then Gina was in a car crash, not her fault, that left her with a traumatic brain injury. She's now medically retired and spends almost every day at home doom scrolling with the blackout curtains drawn. During the pandemic, Angus and Gina didn't leave their house for almost 2 years, and a lot of their friends drifted away. Lots of them were only connected because of Angus and Gina's parties. Angus's already heavy drinking got out of hand. He works from home and drinks all day long. Now they spend virtually all of their time online in their darkened house, inhaling every bit of terrifying news they can. I've been trying to get Gina out of the house. Recently, at dinner, she told me she needs to learn to use their shotgun because they're convinced that their door will get kicked in by Trump's goon squad any day now. Mind you, they are white, middle-aged, native-born Americans, so no risk of deportation or anything. She told me Angus has full Kevlar gear for protests, and that they've joined online ready-to-fight communities because they genuinely believe civil war will break out soon. I've told Gina privately that I'm worried about them and have gently challenged her on some stuff. Do you really think people are going to kick down your door? Absolutely. I am really worried about how deep they've gone into isolation, paranoia, doomsday prepper mode. And I'm exhausted and so concerned after every time I see them. I don't know if there's anything I can do or should do to help them. They're both in therapy and on meds. What do you think?
Okay, Seema, we have in this letter pandemic, traumatic brain injury, alcoholism, medication. In my opinion, this is a question for a doctor.
Or we have all of the things. You know something? I used to get a ton of emails like this in 2022 and 2023 when I had a book come out about these issues. It was a book called What the Fact? Finding the Truth in All the Noise. And it breaks down like how misinformation and disinformation spreads, how people get sucked down these rabbit holes and get programmed this way. But it also has scripts using evidence-based strategies for deprogramming people and for having productive conflict where you can actually move the needle. So I will say that there are people who have expertise in how to have these conversations. There are people who make it their life's work to study how to deprogram someone. And I think you should lean into those tools, but also see if there is more professional help that they can get. I know that they mentioned therapy, they mentioned meds. I wonder though if there are specific experts who work on deprogramming people who would be even more helpful in this situation.
Okay, so tell me, when does a situation rise to the level of calling for deprogramming rather than just someone having a different reaction to the kind of political climate that none of us ever experienced before?
It feels like in a situation like this one where life becomes disrupted and disordered. So one example I'll say is, you know how people will tell you, oh, I like my coffee very specific way, I'm OCD about it. And you're like, that's not actually OCD. Like the D stands for something in particular. It's talking about a disorder. It's talking about your life not being able to be the way you want it to be because of a particular illness, in this case, a mental illness. So when we start to see life being disrupted, social networks and connections and those kinds of disturbing behaviors, that's when I start to think about people with particular expertise in deprogramming needing to be called in.
Wow. So you think the letter writer should actually hire someone?
Potentially, or look for where that expertise is, because the therapist, people can be in therapy and it may not be the most effective type of therapy for them. It may just not be the most efficacious therapist for them. So I do worry about that part. We don't know exactly what meds they're on, or if that means that they're under the care of a psychiatrist, which sounds like it could be helpful. I will say that it sounds so scary and so doom and gloom, but I have hope in these situations because I've seen really good things come out of situations like this. I've seen people resume a healthy life again, resume healthy connections with family and friends again. So it is possible.
I was also wondering, are there outsized fears about everything that might happen really harming them? Or is it the underlying conditions that lead to them being in the house watching news all day harming them? So the traumatic brain injury and all the drinking, if they could get help for some of the things that are keeping them on the couch, do you think that would be a good approach?
I do. It's also a tough context to read this in because I highlighted that bit when you were reading about, so there's no risk of deportation for them or anything. And I'm like, I literally watched 3 TikToks this morning that were all young white women who were apprehended at re-entering the US. They were born American citizens. They were not even naturalized or green card holders. So I think there is an element of everything is spiraling. Empire is collapsing. There are no rules anymore. Anything could happen to anyone. That can feed into this and it doesn't help the situation. But certainly there are so many underlying medical issues, which again, in a fractured healthcare system, is the TBI actually being addressed? Is the psychiatric care thorough and appropriate? Are the meds the right meds? Is the alcoholism being dealt with? There's so many moving parts here. And I feel sorry for our letter writer because it's, their worried friend. This is really worrying. But I think more experts need to be brought in if that's possible.
Did you watch the, I think it was a Netflix documentary about the TikTok dancing cult?
I heard about it, but I didn't watch it. Did you see it?
Yeah. Well, in that documentary, if people's friends and family reached out and expressed concern about them, that was taken by people on the inside as like more evidence of how bad those people were and how much they needed to stay in the cult. So I guess I would also, I'm not calling these 2 people living in their house a cult, but like you said, they're sort of, they're thinking in a way that might need to be deprogrammed. I wouldn't want the letter writer to antagonize them or make them feel too judged, because I think that might just send them deeper down their rabbit hole.
And especially if they have Kevlar vests and potentially shotguns in the house, like there comes a point where you have to navigate that so carefully and tread really wisely.
Right. And I think at worst right now, they are not thriving, but they're not unsafe. And I don't know if, do you think they're going down a road that's going to become unsafe?
It sounds like it. There's definitely potential for things to get bad if they're talking about learning how to use a shotgun. Maybe they already have
a really good point. Yeah.
An arsenal in their home and you can't take that lightly.
Yeah. I think maybe another just thread of my advice would be similar to the advice I give people when a friend is dating someone really awful who you just hate. I don't think it's usually a great idea to continue approaching the friend about how terrible their boyfriend is and how they need to break up with him and you don't want to hear about them anymore. I think it's better to just be a friend so that they're less isolated and so they know that they have a welcoming place to turn if they decide to end that relationship. So similarly here, I don't think you want to be the person who's calling and harassing them and calling them paranoid, dumb, or whatever else. I think you want to like gently sort of plant some seeds about your concern, but also do a little bit of listening to them and a little bit of affirming the parts that can be affirmed.
Exactly that. I think that's really sound advice in this scary situation.
Yeah. Okay, those are all the questions we have for this week. It's been really fun and hopefully helpful. Thank you, Seema.
Thank you, Jenée.
For more work from Dr. Seema Yasmin, visit seemayasmin.com and follow her on TikTok at Dr. Seema Yasmin. You can buy her most recent book, Unbecoming, which follows 2 Muslim teens in their fight for abortion through Texas now. Do you need help getting along with partners, relatives, coworkers, and people in general? Write to me. Go to slate.com/Prudie. That's slate.com/PRUDIE. The Dear Prudence column publishes daily at slate.com.
If you'd like to hear your questions answered on the podcast, we're looking for letter writers who'd be comfortable recording their questions for the show. You can stay anonymous.
This episode of Dear Prudence was produced by me, Jenée Desmond Harris, and Maura Currie. Production support from Anuli Ononye and Sophie Summergrad. Daisy Rosario is senior supervising producer. And I'm your Dear Prudence, Jenée Desmond Harris. That's all for this episode, but join us on today's episode of Prudy Plus, where Seema stuck around to answer another question. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts by clicking Try Free at the top of our show page, or visit slate.com/prudyplus to get access wherever you listen. The episode is available for you to listen to right now. We'll see you there.
If you're a lineman in charge of keeping the lights on, Grainger understands that you go to great lengths and sometimes heights to ensure the power is always flowing, which is why you can count on Grainger for professional-grade products and next-day delivery, so you have everything you need to get the job done. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.